see, it's not just the rookies.
You're making up stories here. All right, well, good morning, Chair Stiesfeld and members of the Assembly Committee on Education. I appreciate the fact that despite the anti-women indications of our governor and power brokers in sports, today, Wisconsin women's voices will be heard. I decided to propose the Protecting Women in Sports Act bills, consisting of both K-12 and collegiate level athletics, because of the pleadings of parents whose daughters were competing in sports in my district. As I quickly learned when I agreed to be their champion in the legislature, there is a whole army of women in Wisconsin sports that are fed up with giving their titles and awards to those who were born biological males. In fact, there are women who wanted to testify today who were fearful to come before this committee because they have been harassed and shamed into silence by the media, lawmakers, transgender community, and even by employers. These women have worked hard and earned their accolades in their own right, and they deserve to have their Title IX rights protected. On June 23rd, 1972, Title IX became ensconced in federal civil rights law. That law was historic in its provisions, honoring and protecting the abilities and achievements of women in their own divisions in competitive sports. Prior to that time, females were not offered the opportunities to compete in anything other than informal activities, lacking equipment, resources, and scholarships. Since its passage in my youth, Title IX has made a way for women to be inspired by the high achievement of other women. Educational and competitive opportunities have been opened up through scholarships and tournaments. The Protecting Women in Sports Act still allows for biological women to participate in male sports if there is no female equivalent offered at their school. I have heard concerns that overzealous sexists may use this bill to prevent women from being included in any sports. That is blatantly a violation of existing law as well as this legislation. Now, in a fractured, well-meaning attempt at inclusion, women's achievements have once again been put at great risk of loss by biological males being permitted to play on women's teams because of gender identity. Biological females are once again losing opportunities at titles, scholarships, and even participation. Additionally, by ignoring the scientific biological fact that males have higher bone density, greater muscle mass, and often greater height, women are being put in physical danger of great injury in competition. The entire last year, we repeatedly listened to the trope, follow the science. Now, the same people who have beat the general public over the head with that statement are denying the fact that an individual's DNA does not change simply because they identify as a different gender. The fact remains that regardless of hormone therapy, males still have immutable characteristics that will never be changed by hormone therapy or gender reassignment surgery. It is these immutable characteristics that are robbing women of their achievement and awards. The difference in achievement can vary depending on the sport. Nevertheless, women are finding their records smashed by biological males more often, recording wins against female competitors. If you think it's not a problem that a transgender athlete beat the next closest female competitor's time in a race by 40 minutes, you are kidding yourself. My fellow legislators, this is not a matter of transphobia, hate, or any of the false pejoratives thrown at women who wish to stand up for women in sports. This is a matter of equality and justice. Despite the fact I have transgender acquaintances whom I love does not mean that I need to give them the right to steal my competitive accomplishment. That, my friends, is known as overcompensation. This legislation is a matter of fairness based on facts that cannot be changed by the opinion of special interest groups. This legislation is not, as many have said, exclusionary and putting people into boxes. It is giving us an all category, ensuring that those who may not fit into their birth category have a home to foster their love of sport with everyone. A word of caution to all of you as I bring my testimony to a close here. The state of Connecticut now finds itself in litigation from students who have had their accomplishments stolen by athletes that were born biological males. To claim that this legislation is a solution in search of a problem or not a problem at all is completely naive. The challenges faced by our adult females are already substantial, and without this legislation, these challenges will trickle down to our student athletes in school sports. Furthermore, the Olympics are looking at admitting their first transgender athletes this summer. Olympic athletes are usually young men and women, school-aged, when they compete at this high level. To not affirmatively pass this bill would mean that we are putting our state in peril of further litigation regarding such matters. As I said at the beginning of my testimony, parents and athletes throughout my district have devoted countless hours to supporting fair competition and athletic excellence. They have come to me asking, Representative, what are you going to do about this? Today, all of you must answer this question. Today, these women's voices will no longer be silenced by bullies and sexists. Today, whether we advance this bill or kill it, every one of us must be accountable to the public and answer. Do we support the rights of women ensconced in federal law, or do we once again stand for male advantage in sports, taking us back in history? I want to thank the committee for their time in hearing this bill today. I have invited Representative Branshen to read Senator Bernier, the Senate lead's testimony on this, if the committee is willing to hear it.
Does Representative Branshen, I have your testimony here also. You're going to read yours first, I assume?
No, you know what, I will leave that for the record. And unfortunately, Senator Bernier cannot be here today, and I think it would be fair to at least, I'll go through her testimony here. Is that all right?
Since, I believe, is she the Senate author?
Yes.
Okay, since she is the author, I'll allow that. As word to everybody else here, that's only a privilege that's being given to the authors. No one else gets to come up and read somebody else's testimony.
She apologizes for not being here today, if she could have, she
Right,
would.
you may proceed.
And you know, I just touch on a couple pieces of it here. So, thank you, Representative Eastfeld, for giving a chance to hear these two bills. The most attractive and alluring and fascinating thing about sports is that they pit competitors against one another on the playing field. We demand that referees, umpires, and judges be impartial and uniformly apply all the rules to the sport. We expect athletes to follow the rules. So when a competitor rises above and shines, it inspires all of us that much more to know that she did it while everybody else had an equal chance to glory. And I'm referring obviously to to Senator Bernier here, but I certainly remember this as well. When I was growing up, we hardly had any women's sports. It was not until 1972 that my school district started up a basketball team for women. We have fought so long and so hard to have equality in sports alongside men. We women now finally have our own equal playing field upon which we can compete. It would be such a shame to detract from all that we have accomplished. We need to remember that Title IX was about fairness, equality, and opportunity in sports for men and women alike. This, at its heart, is the fairness issue. It's about being able to maintain that equal playing field. To deny that is to deny at its core the concept of sports to half the Earth's population. The women supporting these bills are brave and continue the fight that's been ongoing for so long. I stand wholeheartedly behind them as they protect our rights as women, and thank you for your consideration today. I think I would be remiss if I did not mention that it was actually not until this date, until 1943, that women had a professional baseball league. My very dear friend Dolly played in that league here in Wisconsin, and she was only allowed to play in that sport because the men were at war. It went from 1943 to 1972 before women were allowed to play sports in this state. That's crazy. She was amazing. As a matter of fact, they made a movie about it. It's called A League of Their Own. I think a lot of it have seen it. And here in Wisconsin, it took that many years for women's sports to be noticed, to have that opportunity to compete with each other to be the best of the best. Dolly just recently passed on and her husband is still alive. And I think my children so much appreciated her stories of being able to go to the plate, being able to compete with other women. The stands were full of people cheering for them. She was incredible. She actually became a professional bowler after 1973. So my comments today about giving this opportunity to make sure that women had to wait so long for this opportunity to compete, and now the playing field has been changed, I think is completely unfair. Thank you.
All right, thank you to the